Wait, hold on a second. I just want to thank those who are present today for being here and being on time. We do have a meeting scheduled for 10. We need one more council member who is on the committee to show so that we have a quorum. But thank you all for being on time. Good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you for your patience. We're going to commence with this Transportation Committee meeting by starting with roll call.
Councilmember Green,
Present.
Councilmember Moreno, Councilmember Jeruso, Councilmember Harris, Councilmember Green. I'm sorry,
Still here.
Councilmember King. We have a quorum.
Okay. May I entertain a motion to approve the minutes which are attached to your agenda? Our machines are not working, so they'll have to be verbal. Moved by Council President Moreno, seconded Council Member King. All in favor, please signify so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, if we can get the screen to work, the reason that we are gathered today is because, of course, the Transportation Committee should meet whenever it's necessary. And today it's necessary because there is an ordinance proposed which deals with increasing the maximum airport shuttle fares. Just for purposes of background information, the New Orleans City Council is involved with the, if you will, when contracts are let, they require our approval, and when they are amended, they require our approval. There is a request made in today's summary for a fare increase to increase the maximum airport shuttle fare at Louis Armstrong Airport. So if we get it on the screen, and it is on the screen, I'm going to summarize, members, and if you have any questions, you can certainly give me a call. But on the screen is a graph which shows that the maximum fare is $24 for a one-way trip and $44 for a round trip. This was approved previously by the city council. The proposed ordinance will increase the maximum fare to $30 for a one-way trip and $56 for round trips. The proposed increase is to account for lower ridership due to the pandemic and for factors involving inflation, such as fuel cost increases. As you can see on that revenue comparison spreadsheet, which compares 2015, 16, and 21, ridership and revenues are significantly down. It's also important to note that ride share apps became available at the airport on April 1st, 2016, which is highlighted in blue. That's the reason for the highlight. In any event, the airport shuttles revenue is down 47% for 2021 compared to 2016. From 555,971 now, back then a bit more, 1,070,000. The council has passed a temporary reduction in the airport shuttle concessions. It was done so at the June 9th meeting. The airport currently receives a concession fee of 12% of gross revenues. The concession percentage fee will be restored to 22% in increments as ridership increases. The public purpose of the airport shuttle service is to provide affordable ground transportation to travelers. The $6 increase should not, subject to council approval, impose an overly burdensome expense on travelers. A second diagram, please, shows that MSY's airport shuttle fares will still be significantly less than other cities after the increase. For example, Atlanta's one-way trip fare is $50 and San Francisco's one-way fare is $78. George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston, which isn't included in the diagram, has a $45 fare. Our office and I, as the chair of transportation, reached out to the Ground Transportation Bureau, New Orleans and Company, the New Orleans tourism industry's destination marketing and sales organization, and there's been no opposition. The graphs are before us. If council members have questions, you can ask questions of me, or there is a representative of Airport Shuttle present today who can answer those questions. If there are no questions, I would like to move for approval on the ordinance calendar number 33973. So move, seconded. I'll move and then seconded by Council Member King. Ordinance number 33973. Council members, please vote by voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? The ordinance is approved unanimously. Thank you for your support. And thank you for the airport shuttle representative being present and for providing the information that I needed to be able to share with members of the council. The second item on the agenda, or really technically the fourth item, but the second presentation item is an update on the rail system between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, a presentation by Darryl Saison. Senior consultant, Mr. Saison, please come to the table at Saison and Associates. And this, members of the council transportation committee presentation, is because there was good news in the paper relative to the connection between New Orleans and Mobile. There have been some hesitations and some impediments to getting this deal done, but it's good for the city. People are looking forward to traveling along the Gulf Coast to our city. It obviously also provides an opportunity for residents of New Orleans to take advantage of the amenities in other areas. But Mr. Saison, if you will introduce yourself and give us a brief presentation so that the council has an idea of what is going to be seen in the near future relative to that transportation. Mr. Darryl Saison.
Thank you, Councilman Green. We actually last week, which you're referring to, the day before Thanksgiving, the U.S. Department of Transportation Surface Transportation Board, and I shouldn't say it that way because it's an independent board which regulates freight and passenger rail traffic in the country, cleared the way for the restoration of Amtrak expanding their residential routes on the Gulf Coast, which means that Baton Rouge to New Orleans has got smooth sailing now. It also means that New Orleans to Mobile has smooth sailing as well. There was some initial hesitation by the Port of Mobile on this because the freight railroads are concerned about their time slots on the way, between New Orleans and Mobile. But those issues were resolved, okay? Now the governor of Alabama is going to move forward on all of this. And so rail service between New Orleans and Mobile will probably resume, I would say, by the summer of next year. Just a brief history of that. That service was something involved, was originally put up, it's called the Gulf Coast Limited, when the World's Fair was going on here in the 1980s. And it ran until 1998 when Amtrak was cutting back. It was a well-used service. A lot of people came to New Orleans from Mobile, back and forth, back and forth. And now, it's being restored by Amtrak. So that's one piece of good news. But the better piece of good news is what I'm really here to talk about today. And I'm involved with the Baton Rouge, New Orleans rail system, the plan that we're going to be doing. And we're now doing an engineering update of the plan, the original plan, which was completed in 2015, to update the cost of it. You might remember, with some regret, I do certainly have regret, the state was given money in 2009-10 under the Obama stimulus program to mount the system. The governor at the time turned the money back, which is very unfortunate for the state. But we now have a new effort to do it. We have a president in the White House that believes in Amtrak. I remember talking to him about this about 2 years ago, and he said, well, I won't say what he said, but what happened? And I said, Mr. President, what happened was the governor at the time decided they didn't want to move forward with it. They wanted to concentrate on highways, which is very unfortunate. But at any rate, right now, we have completed the update. I think the update will be complete in February of next year. The engineering update to update the costs of it. And we think the total costs are going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $300 million. The big—
Say that into the microphone again, because you stepped back.
$250 to $300 million. And that's
To be able to restore service, to be able to create
service between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Now,
how much?
don't quote me on those final numbers because it's a work in progress. But the big ticket item on this is the replacement of the Bonnet Carré Spillway Rail Bridge. That old rickety rail bridge, you see that wood bridge when you go to Baton Rouge, that's not suitable for passenger service. So that's going to be totally rebuilt by the federal government. The state is applying for the money to do that. That's $80 to $100 million. So, and what I gave you, Councilman, is something I think that would be good for the council to do. Is I've given you a letter which should be addressed to the. This is a template to the Secretary of Transportation in support of that project. The state is going to apply for it. It's under the CRISI program, which is the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvement Program of the Biden infrastructure bill. The state has the money to match it. The governor is excited about doing this. And that's the major impediment to establishing regular rail service between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, that bridge. Also, the freight railroads have agreed since Canadian Pacific, and this was before the Surface Transportation Board, Canadian Pacific has the agreement, an agreement in place to either buy or merge with KCS, and the routes between the lines between New Orleans and Baton Rouge are controlled by Canadian Pacific, and they have committed to restoring service. We'll start off with 2 trips a day. It's going to take 18 to 24 months to complete the Bonnet Carré Spillway Bridge once we're funded. It'll be built next to the I-10 structure. What happens beyond that, and significant improvements since then, we have a great new airport. And this is part of the airport's master plan. the details of which I think the director should should speak of when he comes back to this committee. But this service between Baton Rouge and New Orleans has been planned for a long time. We almost had it in the 1990s. The big changes are taking place now because in Baton Rouge, they're creating 2 rail stations, one in downtown Baton Rouge and one at the Mall of Louisiana. There'll be a station in Gonzales. There'll be a station in LaPlace, one at the airport, and then into the NOUPT, our great terminal that I was involved with when I was in the government here. But at any rate, it puts us on the map. We think that the rail service will multiply as it's used, that a lot of people who live in Baton Rouge and the areas around Baton Rouge will use it to get to the airport, since 62% of the people who live in that area up there use this airport. So, I mean, it's a win-win. And the first step is to get this rail bridge completed. So that's where we are right now. And that's one of the reasons why I came today. I think that what happened last week with the Surface Transportation Board is a great announcement for rail service in the South. The country is now moving more toward rail service. In Texas, you have rail service being done in California, in Florida, because the highways are so crowded. The gridlock is just, unbelievable. So this is one step in the direction of trying to get us on a more even plane. It would be great to have a statewide rail improvement plan. We had one years ago. We have a high-speed rail corridor designation because we did that too. That's what the East is moving toward, and in the urban Midwest, the same thing. So that's it. If you could do a statement of support for LADOTD's application for the Bonnet Carré Spillway Replacement Bridge, that would be very helpful. And there are going to be other efforts to do that with RPC and with other cities along the route. I can tell you that the mayors of New Orleans and Baton Rouge and most of the elected officials throughout that corridor, I don't know of anybody who's opposed to this. People are excited about it, and we hope to bring it to fruition.
So for example, if you were to give a percentage chance that it's going to be New Orleans to Baton Rouge approved by the powers that be, that a 90% chance? I should have cheerleaders behind you.
I think
your voice doesn't reflect the fact that that is probably one of the most significant
it is. I mean, let's just say this
in the history of our state. In some respects,
this is a very, it opens the way for for the creation of a statewide rail system, to be honest with you. Okay, that's the important thing. But we need to, Baton Rouge had rail service, okay, under the old system, Amtrak, but they did away with the service. Amtrak stopped going to Baton Rouge. They tore down the downtown rail station to build the casino up there. And, but the traffic is such that, now the major driver of traffic in that corridor is the airport. But it's not just the airport, the Saints, the Pelicans. We have all of these things going on in New Orleans, and people have a need to get here. And the interstate, I told the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Wilson, who's a friend of mine, every time I'm going to Baton Rouge, I'm on a couple of boards up there, it's an adventure. You don't know if you're going to get there. You don't know if you're going to get there on time. It really is. It's an adventure. I've been stopped in my tracks going to a Board of Commerce Industry meeting because I couldn't get through. So, this offers another opportunity. And you have the 2 big state universities up there in Baton Rouge as well. And so, it's a win-win for us. I know that there's enough support so that once we start getting funded on all of this stuff, that nobody's going to stop this. In the next administration in Baton Rouge, I don't think anybody's going to stop this, because it's something that's been long sought, and and I'm proud to be part of it, and I'm happy that we finally have a president that recognizes that. The first big step, though, is that letter that you all could write. And we're going to be asking other entities to do the same thing in Jefferson Parish. And Regional Planning Commission. The Mayor of Baton Rouge has already on board and our mayor down here. It's part of Geno's efforts to, Geno Inc.'s efforts to try to get, this is one of the primary things on their agenda. More connectivity between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is a no-brainer.
Then it's gonna be Baton Rouge to Lafayette, maybe Lafayette, then to other places.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would like to
It
see that
opens up a
happen.
lot, so that's good.
I would like to see that happen. I really would, but I don't know, you know, we have, we're not as acquainted with rail as we should be down here. That's the problem. My daughter, who is in tech, sent me she did an algorithm which shows that if you had a high-speed rail system, or even a moderate high-speed rail system, like from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, you could get there in 27 minutes. Now that would be going like 100 miles an hour, 27 minutes. And you know, I mean, but that's what they're planning in other parts of the country with the Acela, the Amtrak part of the country. And in the Midwest, they're planning ahead. And I don't want to even go into what's happening in Japan and other countries around the world.
Mhm.
We're behind.
All right, well, this is good news. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris, any questions or comments?
No, it's good to see you. And as someone who is the granddaughter of a person who worked on the railroad, I'm excited about it. I often took rail between New York and DC, and I
Did
think
you?
I think it's a fabulous way of transportation. I hate driving personally, and so I'm very excited about this project.
But one other thing, did you take, when you were in Washington to New York, which is a great trip, you're right. Did you take regular Amtrak or were you able to take the Acela?
I took both.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you know about, how it works and everything and the quiet car.
I love the quiet car.
Yes,
Yeah, it's the best thing in the world.
yes,
Morning travel, quiet car.
yes, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sadon, for the
No problem.
presentation and
Yes,
for
sir.
sharing of good news. And that's why you're on the agenda today, because it's important to recognize that there are a lot of developments taking place. I know that the Surface Transportation Board will be in Mobile on the 9th. So share information.
Is it that, we'll talk about that. Is it the
Okay.
9th or is it the Southern Rail Commission?
Southern Rail Commission, and I do that interchangeably, and that's not good. The Southern Rail Commission.
Well, there'll be,
Right.
I've been in
That's a-
Mobile many times.
That's
I
a
used to be on the stuff.
celebratory time. That's what they're celebrating.
Absolutely, yeah, they'll be celebrating
Right.
this and they've been, and let me just say one in closing. Because I know we have a short time today. They deserve credit because they kept this alive. And our people in Louisiana, notably John Spain, put Baton Rouge, New Orleans in it. And now Baton Rouge, New Orleans is on the National Amtrak map. Okay, it's one of their preferred routes, as well as New Orleans to Mobile. So we've got that going for us, and that's good.
All right.
Okay,
Continue to share good information. Thank you very much. Are there any comments online or? Thank you very much for your presentation. And we did have a quorum. And so I will tell you that we can officially adjourn as soon as 2 members return to vote on that adjournment. But we can consider ourselves adjourned because our agenda has ended. Thank you very much.
okay.
Mr. Cezanne?
What's that?
Okay. Moved on the adjournment in a second. Has been properly moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. This meeting of the Transportation Committee has been officially adjourned, and thank you all members for your attendance. Could have done the other.